Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest on the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, so today I have Sarah Nance on the line, and she is a testing and optimization industry expert. Sarah, welcome to the show.
Hi, Adam. Nice to see you.
All right, Sarah. So we got a lot to talk about today. So, of course, excited and thrilled to announce that you're an author in one of our upcoming Mission Matters book releases. So, first, I want to just say congrats.
Thank you. Yeah, really exciting.
And then today we'll also talk about really optimization, testing. A lot of business owners, entrepreneurs, executives watch this show, and we're always thinking, testing, optimizing. We hear like, changing a button color, can that make a difference? Like, we're going to get your insight on that question and many more in a moment. But first, we'll start this interview the way that we start them all with our Mission Matters Minute. So, Sarah, we at Mission Matters, we amplify stories for entrepreneurs, executives, and experts. That's our mission. Sarah, what mission matters to you?
Well, for me, I would say just helping people, just in a general sense, like in my personal life and in work, because of my skill set with digital marketing optimization. Obviously, over the years, I've contributed time pro bono to different charities and churches to help them publish their marketing materials for their events and promotions. And moving forward, I'd really like to use the testing and optimization skills to help entrepreneurs and small business owners, because I think it's a little bit of a misunderstood marketing discipline, and I'd like to make it more accessible.
It's great, and we need your help out there, and we'll talk more about that and what that means. And just again, great having you on the show. And before we dive, into marketing, testing, optimization, what that means, what business owners and executives out there need to know, let's start a little bit further back in your career. So, when did this idea of testing and optimization and marketing, like when did that grab a hold of you?
Well, I had started my career in graphic design way back in the day, and over the years, as mobile web, social media became more prolific in the digital space. I switched over into doing more digital marketing, and then about 5 years ago, I had the opportunity to join a testing and optimization team, and it really was. For me, it was just a really perfect combination of all the different things I had done before, website design, email marketing, SEO, and this was a nice sort of add-on to that, something new in my toolkit, you could say, that I was able to use some of those previous skills and then move that into a more like testing and optimization mindset.
Hmm. And we'll define that in a moment, but I want to talk a little bit about the book today, and we will, and just for everybody watching or listening to this, we're going to keep it very high level, and that is because we will be bringing Sarah back onto the show for a follow-up interview to this, but we're going to do that when the book is actually live. So again, we're going to keep it high level today, but don't worry, it's just a little teaser. We'll get you back. So, Sarah, what are some of the ideas or things that you plan to propose in the upcoming release?
Yeah, I'm not giving away my secret recipe of herbs and spices today, but yeah, the book, or I'm sorry, the chapter, it's really kind of like a 101 into optimization. Because again, sometimes people hear that and they sort of, kind of glaze over, like, well, what does that mean? Because it's not really that well known, I don't think. So I just explain it, kind of at a high level, and then there's a couple examples that I walk through just to make it more tangible real life application, so that somebody could maybe feel more like, oh, okay, yeah, that's something that I could do.
It's great, and we'll cut it there, and just understand that there's a whole lot coming in this book, and the testing and optimization part of it you will not want to miss. But let's shift focus. Let's jump around here a little bit more because I do want to go deeper in the overall topic. So let's start maybe with the idea of, because like you said, we hear this word very often, but maybe especially for those that don't have it as a business practice or part of what we're doing daily or weekly or part of our culture, like what does testing and optimization as it relates to digital or the digital space, like what does that even mean?
So it's actually I like to describe it as sort of the intersection of art and science
Mm,
because um, you're going to be working with graphic design UX folks to get um, propose different layouts or different maybe flows on your website, but then
mm,
you're going to also be working with um, analytics teams to measure the impact of the changes that you make and decide what's better for you, what resonates more with your particular audience. So
mm,
it's using that sort of like what if creative, and then again measuring the impacts of that versus maybe just making a big change and kind of hoping for the best. And it maybe doesn't go as you had hoped.
Yeah, and I like the way you describe it, intersection between art and science, because it really is. So especially when you think about something like your graphic design background and where you started, right? That'd be obviously maybe more on the art side of things. But then I find that for a certain select group of individuals that are either predisposed or I don't know, they gravitate towards it. They've always wanted and they like that science side of it too, and the analytics side, and seeing the end result or maybe some of the output of what the art and the design actually like what happens after, like
Mhm.
whether you're changing a button color design or you have a different like layout or something else, like that can make like meaningful changes and results into whatever it is that your objective is that you're trying with the website or whatever the design or whatever the particular digital piece of content happens to be.
Mhm.
I got to ask them that question because I hear it often. Like, does change can, and in your experience, changing a button color make a difference? I got to ask the question because it's always on my mind.
Yeah, I mean, button color, CTA copy on the button, so what, like, what it says, to get you to, click to go to the next
Call
page.
to action. So
Yes.
CTA
So
for all the non-testers
sorry,
and
yeah.
optimizers. I know I'm lost often as well. For everybody watching this, I'll pick on myself a little bit here. When we first got started and somebody would tell me CTA, I'm like, Central T, I don't know. So keep going, Sarah. Tell us more.
Um, so yeah, color, the copy, the words that you
Yeah.
use, and even the location, top, bottom, left, right. I mean, it's really wild that maybe because this is obviously a very small example, but
Yeah.
yeah, even just those little things can make a huge difference and impact the way that a customer perceives the information or the page or their basically kind of like their level of commitment to go forward.
Yeah. And I know that you've worked with, large companies and enterprises, and I want to kind of maybe relate this or bring this back to maybe the small business owner, the small to medium-sized business, right? What are some things, and I know there's no one size fits all, so I don't want this to sound like a loaded question, but we got to start somewhere.
Okay.
What are some things that small business owners that are listening to this should consider if they've never, let's start with if they've never been in the optimization space or the testing space and they keep hearing this, then they hear this recording and they're like, all right, where do I start? Like, what should they be thinking about?
So, I mean, I would say typically when you're um, either, if you're starting a business or if you're, let's say you have a business and you're launching a campaign, typically you kind of whittle it down to two or three ideas. And then, usually you're like, okay, well, we got to pick one. We've got to have something to go forward with.
Mhm,
If you kind of weave testing and optimization into your marketing mix,
mhm,
you can actually test the three ideas, two, three, whatever ideas against each other to see which one resonates, which one is actually that your specific customers and audience works for them, versus okay, well, we're just going to go with the yellow. You can actually do this, and then and honestly, I mean, I've been on teams where we've been very surprised. I mean, pretty much we all thought, oh no, it's going to go, it's going to go left, and it went right. So
yeah.
um yeah, it's that that's what I would say for, yeah, if you're a small business owner, you know, you, this is something that can really help you and maybe kind of save you from potential lost revenue because you're just kind of testing it, and then you implement whatever works.
Yeah. Where do you find that people maybe many times go wrong with this process? And that could be in the small business owner, that could be any company, because I feel like whether in the context of a team or otherwise, like I think some of those themes tend to repeat themselves as well. Like where do you find a lot of times people go wrong and maybe they're just their testing process?
um I mean, I would say, for small, if you're a really small business, I mean, out of the gate, you just might not even be doing this at all. So that,
Mm.
that's a
Good
hard
point, Sarah. Let's not glance over that. First off, you're not doing it. Okay, continue, please.
but yeah, I mean, I would say, um, mm, because it is testing, because, and I'm not going to get super technical, but
Yeah.
just all of that to say, when you test, you're not actually changing the code on your website. I'll just leave it at that. And so I think sometimes though, even though people like know that in the back of their mind, they're like, oh, well, no, this, that's too wild. We don't want to do this. We don't want to do that. And it's like, well, that's the whole point. I mean, this is like a chemistry experiment, a little dab of this, a little dash of that. And so I would say just remembering to keep that open-minded. This is just a test. If it goes off the rails, you can turn it off, like a light switch, which is another big benefit. And just I guess like just embrace it. Like don't be afraid to try things.
For organizations maybe that haven't been in the testing mindset, I think mindset alone, staying away from even the technical side of things, like that's a shift, right? I feel
Mhm.
like a lot of times, and I know you mentioned that you may be working with some small businesses and some small business owners, which I'm glad to hear because we need you out there. But I feel like even the idea of having that testing mindset, it's a shift for many. As somebody kind of thinks about integrating that process to their organization, like what kind of things should they be thinking when it comes to mindset?
um, I think, like I said, just kind of, being open to potentially going against your gut, because a
Yeah.
lot of times, like how I told you, like even on the teams I've been on, we were like, oh no, we all knew and we were all
Mhm.
wrong. So I would say, it's sort of, I mean you definitely are kind of out there,
Mhm.
uh, I don't want to say like walking a tightrope, but I mean you're gonna have to put yourself in sort of an uncomfortable place,
Mhm.
potentially to do something that maybe feels, like I said, like against your gut or against what you might think. But again, the benefit is, it might be great to be wrong, and
Mhm. Yeah.
the blue button at the top on the right hand side is the winner, and oh my gosh, we had no idea, and look at our sales.
Yeah. No, I'm on the same page, and as long if there's a winner, I'm happy. And I'll tell you the one. So internally, so we do a lot of advertising for clients and businesses, but internally for our own campaigns, we're always like we have our own little. When I say side bets, it's like okay, which one do we think is going to perform the best for? Again, these are for our internal Mission Matters ads, and I'll tell you, if you want a bruised ego, guess wrong. I'm like, I swore it, Sarah. I swore that ad was gonna work,
Right.
and it doesn't. And then mine is a dud, and maybe somebody else is one of our other directors there. They have the winner, and I'm again, like you said, I'm just happy if there is a winner, like period. But I think that was one of the ways that as we were kind of progressing in our ideology and adding that more into our culture as the company grew, Facebook and like some of the ads and advertising we were running, like to see what was the winner
Mhm.
ultimately, and being wrong. Like if you ever want to like a gut check on being wrong and is your idea validated or not, well, the good part about the intersection between art and science is the science part will tell you when you're wrong, won't it?
Right, exactly, yeah.
So looking at an organization. So we talked about maybe those that are just getting started, right? And that kind of that beginner stage.
Mhm,
Let's go to maybe just a little bit more a little bit more advanced stuff. So let's say that you've done some general testing, and you've kind of you've done some things, maybe you've had some success, maybe you haven't, maybe you're looking at like what's the next or where do I go next, like ideology wise, like framework, like what should people be thinking about?
um, I mean, the thing with testing is it's kind of like a blank slate. I mean, it's depending on, some of the developers, that you've got
Yeah.
working, with you. But I mean, there are times where, we maybe took a form that, how sometimes when you're filling out a form, it goes across like 2 or 3 pages.
Yeah.
There are times where we condense that into one page, and it was like, is it, even if it's a really long page, is one long page better than three, kind of stair step pages? So, I mean, you can do something as small as a button, or you can totally change a flow of your website. There's, I mean, I like to say technically, usually nothing is impossible.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
just,
that's a good one. Technically, usually nothing is impossible. I'm in on that one.
yeah, it's just, level of effort and,
Mhm,
time, how much time do you really want to commit to this? And,
mhm,
is the ROI going to be worth it? But
yeah.
yeah, it's, there's a lot of possibilities.
So you've worked on, with and through your career on a lot of different teams, whether it's, obviously it could be different companies, could be within the same company, different projects. Shifting focus a bit, I'm curious into your insight into what typically makes what's part of that chemistry that kind of binds the creative side and the creative team and the analytics side and the analytics part of it that make that magic that makes that team come together for that end result. Like, what are some of those that chemistry that you've noticed kind of uses those two sides of the coin? Because typically, and I don't want to stereotype, but most of the time it's typically two different things or two different people that are at the very least that are handling the analytics versus the creative. What do you find normally makes the magic happen?
So, on the teams that I've worked on, typically, because I've usually been in like larger organizations, so the creative, the analytics, the development team, we're usually operating almost like an agency within the
Yeah.
company, and then we work with different stakeholders.
Mhm.
So that there's kind of this sort of like bonded mission, if you will, because
It is. It
yeah,
is.
because I mean, I wouldn't say like, little teams, but we're our own sort of
Yeah.
like on an island. Um, Additionally, I like typically my role has kind of been the crossing guard at the four-way intersection. So
Mhm.
I'm, kind of going back and forth with creative developers, analytics, if there's, troubleshooting, all that kind of stuff. So um,
Mhm.
there's a lot of like cross communication that needs to happen. And again, I think, kind of like you just, sort of like trusting each other. And also once you've been together as a team and you've run, a few dozen tests,
Mhm.
there's, you've kind of got that in your mind of, oh, well, remember when we did this? What if we
Yeah.
tweaked it and did that? And then like you said, like analysts that are typically more, number crunchers. I mean, no,
Yeah.
no, no stereotyping analysts, but they actually
Hey,
have.
I say it affectionately, crunch those numbers because, those it's needed. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, but I've seen them sort of like come out of their shell a little bit and
Mhm.
propose creative ideas, and that to me is really really is just a really interesting sort of like benefit or side effect that you maybe wouldn't have anticipated, that all of a sudden the analysts are like, hey, I had an idea. And all I mean, very very fortunate, all the teams I've been on, everybody's you know um, open and willing to talk about ideas, willing to kick things around. And yeah, it just helps the collaborative process overall.
Yeah, I feel like as long as you keep the sales department out of mix putting their mix no, oh, sorry for everybody that doesn't know that joke, we're not gonna stick on it, especially for the sales teams watching. Um, all right, so, jumping around here a bit, I know that you mentioned, like, the idea of possibly bringing on some, or working with small businesses. Like, would you ever consider consulting or, like, that type of consulting relationship with maybe small business owners and helping them like with optimization?
Yeah, it's something that really has come to the forefront of my mind, going through this process,
Yeah.
working with your team, writing the chapter. I was very flattered and fortunate. I presented at an optimization conference a couple months ago, and I don't know, it sort of sparked something in me that maybe I would like to sort of sow my own entrepreneurial seeds
Yeah.
and yeah, and work with maybe just kind of some small projects on the side. But yeah, work with small business owners that really, I mean, either you're going to start your own team and you're just going to
Yeah.
kind of fly blind, or you'd have to hire like a big agency, and then that's
Mhm.
just usually that's just so cost prohibitive. So I'd like to just make it more accessible to
Yeah.
people in a smaller scale.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea, first of all, and I'm a huge fan of this. I've seen so many individuals take what they've learned along the way and find ways to help others with it, exactly like you're saying. They may have had a big corporate career working on huge projects, but they have all this knowledge. Maybe they have time to take on a client or two here and there, and provide some much needed consulting work. Because what I've found is that through my experience as an entrepreneur, I just so happen to have maybe worked in some larger companies. So I've seen the way they operated and I took away just a little bit of that, right? But many entrepreneurs out there, especially if they graduated college, went right into they didn't do the corporate America route, but they went right into being an entrepreneur or startup land or all these things. Maybe they never had the benefit of working in the confines of how a large organization works, especially in the context of optimization. It's just a really highly specialized field, in my opinion. And there's a lot that that's just common knowledge to you that we don't know as small business owners. So I'm gonna be here to encourage and push you on that one. That's when I'm gonna throw that into my mission.
Okay.
Well, Sarah, I just have to say it's been awesome having you on the show today and learning more about your background, how you got fascinated and really sucked into the optimization and testing space, and also your possible plans for in the future, helping maybe small business owners as well, if that's on the horizon. Just have to ask, I mean, what's next? What's next for you? What's other than publishing the book, because that's definitely next. You better believe I'm bringing you back on the show. But
Okay.
what's next for you in your career?
Yeah, I mean, I think like I said, it's going through this process has just been really eye opening, but also very encouraging to me. So I think I want to look into what I would need to do to kind of set up something for myself.
Yeah,
Um, get some leads, talk to maybe local folks in my area, and just see if I can help them
yeah.
with their businesses, and help them understand this, like I said, this marketing discipline, which, like we said, is sort of a niche field, and just not a lot of people are aware of it.
Oh, I think it's awesome. Great idea. And if Sarah, if somebody wants to follow up and connect and just follow your journey, I mean, what's the best way for them to do that?
I would just say reach out to me on LinkedIn. Ask to connect, or drop me a note, and that's definitely the best way to get a hold of me.
Awesome. And we'll be sure to leave that link in the show notes so that our audience can just click on it and head right on over and check out your LinkedIn profile. And speaking of the audience, if this is your first time listening to or watching a Mission Matters episode, we're all about bringing on business owners, entrepreneurs, executives, and experts and having them share their mission, the reason behind their mission, their journey, and really what we can all learn and gain from that so that we all grow together. If that's the type of content that sounds interesting or fun or engaging to you, hit that subscribe button, because we have many more mission-based individuals coming up on the line and we don't want you to miss a thing. And Sarah, really, it has been great having you on the show. I can't wait to the next time we get to do this.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. I had a great time today.